Good evening. This is Defacto Review, a weekly analysis on the latest political, economic, and social issues in Mongolia by Mr. Jargal Defacto.
Good evening.
And I'll be your host, Jargal Defacto. Today's topics are on World Small and Medium Enterprise Day, Election System, and Stolen Health Insurance Fund. The United Nations General Assembly designated the 27th of June as Micro, Small, and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day to raise awareness of the contributions of micro and small, medium-sized enterprises to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And Mongolia celebrated the event for the first time this year at Sukbatar Square from 24th to 27th. 300 small businesses from 21 provinces and 9 districts of Ulaanbaatar showcased their products and services. Generally, worldwide enterprises account for 60 to 70% of employment and 50% of GDP. But in Mongolia, they account for 67% of employment, which is normal, but account to only 18.3% of the total GDP in Mongolia. In other words, the amount of contributions these SMEs account towards national GDP is 3 times less than the global average. Mr. Jargal Defacto, how can we raise the GDP contribution of these Mongolian enterprises?
The very fact you said that only contribute 13%, it contributes 13% of the economy is really small. It means we have very fragmented small SMEs relative to other countries. So it means we need to pay more attention to create conditions that SMEs are thriving. Mm-hmm. And SMEs in Mongolia are really majority, almost 70 or 80% of total companies amount. But that means really tiny SMEs we have, and we need to create conditions for their development, financial, in business-inducing environment, etc.
Mm-hmm. How can we create these conditions? What challenges are they facing right now, and especially after the pandemic?
Well, SMEs are the backbones of any economy, including Mongolia. Because this is a mining economy, their amount also looks like smaller, their contribution. After this, because all SMEs are hit very hard by this pandemic, they have just tried to keep jobs. The government had helped with a lot of money came out for them, but not all jobs are kept or saved. Government says that it had saved 200,000 jobs. And after pandemic, there is still lack of human resources, equipment, and spare parts, deficit of raw materials in Mongolia. Now, still we face this kind of issues also because the logistics problems due to Chinese border closure for a very long time due to pandemic as well. Just about pandemic is getting finished, then this war in Ukraine happens, mm-hmm. which really also slows down our supply from Russia or through Russia, also due to sanctions opposed by the Western countries on Russia. So it doesn't make our life easier. The other problem for SMEs facing is growing inflation and more devaluation of Mongolian tugriks. Inflation now we have 16%, devaluation of Mongolian tugriks year-on-year base. We have 12% of devaluation of tugriks, and all this together make the for SMEs and all businesses import more expensive, and the selling price is to be also expensive, which restricts the general volume of the business. This year, we actually expecting certain economic slowdown, substantial slowdown, I would say. But in spite of all these factors, economic activities in Mongolia are now in full swing. One example is this current forum where I am now. I'm in Khinti Amak, Som, and here is the Cooperatives Forum of Mongolia. And I saw here representatives of 21 IMAX cooperatives, Ulaanbaatar districts cooperatives, and they're exchanging their experiences. And because the law on cooperatives was adopted last year in May, but because a pandemic, a whole 1 year was almost missed, now the activities came back again, and they are, according to this new law, for example, cooperatives, which is a very substantial part of helping these SMEs or in Mongolia. This cooperatives now, for example, by this new law, VAT exempted, and there was a SUM development fund, which is now becoming a cooperatives development fund. With further development of cooperatives, we will see more productivity. So that's how it is going on now.
As of now, there are 170 SMEs that are exporting their products and services to China, the US, and Japan. What can be done to increase the rate of exports of these enterprises?
Yes, there are several SMEs exporting goods like cashmere, clothing, cosmetics, meat, and honey, and other goods of the light industry to those countries you have mentioned. But Mongolian SMEs need more economies of scale or bigger size business. For bigger size business, it will require bigger size raw material supply. Mm-hmm. So it requires also very well set value chain system in the country. And we need to work a lot in this direction. Some works are done. For example, the city has been taking initiatives to grant some loans with low interest. Also, they are trying to increase opportunities of exporting, making easier exporting conditions from Mongolia and in the country which is importing. And there are discussions going on with this related authorities of two countries. So things go slowly up and in that direction, but still a lot of things to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on to our second topic. Last Monday, the Constitutional Court re-looked at the current majoritarian electoral system and concluded that the legislature retains exclusive right to elect, and concluded that the electoral system will be legislated by Parliament within its mandate and not by the Constitutional Court. What role does this play in strengthening democracy? And first of all, what were some of the downsides of the majoritarian electoral system, and how would this proportional electoral system help?
Well, it's really weird to have these conversations going on after just 2-3 years ago amended the constitutions. Mm-hmm. Constitution is kind of social contract where every parcel of society have agreed to live according to that agreement. And that agreement is being changed now. Now it's already after 3 years. But however, if there is this kind of need to change, it means the people are not agree with this social contract. And there are several issues, including what you have asked about the election system. There are two electoral systems in the world. One is majoritarian, the other is proportional, and the third is their combination, mixed form. Mongolia have tried all of them. And 2006 and 2020 elections were both by majoritarian system of election. As a result, one party, People's Party, got, in both cases, over 60 seats. out of 76 seats. So obviously, according to the other opposition political parties, that in Mongolia, it has no opposition power or no substantial opposition power, which raises an issue because whether how much strong is our democracy. If one political party stays very long, in this case now already 6 years, it will be 8, then there is a more trend or tendency to move that country to authoritarian regime. One, that's what the argument of those people. Proportional means an electoral system in which the political parties gain seats in proportion to the number of votes they got. Mm-hmm. Majoritarian electoral system is the winner takes all. Those who had the last, even the highest number of votes, they got it. The remaining is just out. But however, in Mongolian case, they are not representing really, truly, and fully the voters' choice. People's Party got around only 40% of voters' voice or vote, but however, they have 80% of the seats. So that makes political parties in questions. Mm-hmm. Mongolia before used both mixed system. Majoritarian was for 2/3 of seats. Proportional is 1/3 of seats. But however, there is a strange thing, because in proportional cases, a candidate is not a person, it's a political party. So there may be some persons through their political party list that people don't want to vote at all. So that was several cases before in Mongolia. And that some critique find that this is a violation of constitutions, because each seat each seat represents a person that is voted, not a political party. So that's the situation we have today.
Advocates are pushing for various proposals. Can you mention what those are and what you think of that?
Yeah, the people are now asking many questions, and you can combine it into 3 issues, I think. First is amount of what happens if you use again that majoritarian system. The people saying their argument is, if we are very long under one political party, more than 10 years, it will be authoritarian state, which is completely against our constitutional provision that Mongolia is a republic, parliamentarian republic. So we should have mixed format like before. That's what they say on this issue. Second, about the number of seats. They say 76 is not enough representing a full spectrum of population, and let's increase it twice more to 152. Then the argument is, then we can oppose political parties or governments, government to be under the pressure of neighbor countries or any other country that people, the large amount of deputies may have a stronger power to release that pressure on the government from outside. That's what they say. The third is about whether parliament member can be also cabinet members. And this issue, we call it dahor del, or double cloth, because when you have only 76 parliamentarian seats and 18 of them are becoming minister, they are becoming too strong. And that's what we have been experiencing since 2000. And now they want to put it back. Now they say that from 76, 18 is too much. Then from 152, it will be relatively small, not much influential. And many developed democracies like England, Canada, they have, for example, parliament members are cabinet members. So these are three issues today at stake now with this amendments of the constitutions. But there are another two issues. One is president to be elected from the parliament. That's what some politicians are suggesting now. Another one is if some people suggesting to have two chambers. That will make new constitutions. We need to make not amendments, we need to make a new constitutions. But however, my concern is we have a so-called money election. People's Party has a so-called more than 240,000 members, and they finance every MP member, every party's member to advocate another 5 persons to vote for them. That was, according to some observers, was for the last election, and they have a financing for that. So it's in a way they are buying votes. I think this is more challenge for Mongolia than the system of election itself. Still, if we have still this money elections, then nothing will help us. So it's a very serious questions. And another thing, what I don't like is, before every election, the parliament changing the law a year before. And they try to fit it into their interests, not into the people's interests.
Great. Now let's move on to the third topic. There have been many instances of misappropriation of funds within the General Department of Health Insurance that led to the disappearance of the health care fund. Critics of the department have mentioned schemes about placing funds in private banks instead of the state bank to gain a percentage of the interest that the banks charge from borrowers. The General Department of Health Insurance has also used the healthcare fund to give bonuses to people in the department, including year-end bonus of 8.5 million turuk, a performance bonus of 14.9 million turuk, and so on. So my question to you, Mr. Jargal Defacto, is there is so much corruption surrounding the healthcare fund from top to bottom. How can we fight this?
Well, that's a big issue, and it's a very long-standing issue, in particular around this national health insurance. Actually, it is not insurance, only the name is insurance. In substance, it is not. However, this health insurance money fund has always been a very tasty pie of cake for many politicians. Mr. Chinzer, who was the Minister for Labor and Social Care, said recently that this fund is almost empty now, and from next year we need to subsidize 100% from the state, which Mongolia cannot. We have already in a big debt, and now need to even this fund to be funded again from. It means again another foreign debt, because domestically the government had finished all the sources of money. So why is he saying that? Is that corruption you have just now mentioned, the corruptions of all different types. Another parliament member, Inkbayar, said recently, a very serious statement he said. Well, I mean, this case we know for many years, but he said first time, Is Irdin, who was the former head of that fund for many years, was using this way of misappropriating the fund. They put into the commercial bank with certain interest rate. with certain rate. And look, actually, two different contracts. One is for the state, say, 2-3% or 5% interest rate earning for that sum they have placed into the commercial bank. But actually, they are getting way more than another contract, some 8-10%. And the difference is around 30 billion MNT for those years, he said, Mr. Inkbayar. So that is to be somehow, this conversation is going very long in the country, and no clever, proper report and checks from the government. So it alone shows that there are many criminal cases you have, we have mentioned, are still staying in the court or forever disappearing, or so there are many things. Recently, also the one bank had bankrupt, and in that money, in that bank, so much health insurance money was inside, several 200 or so 100 billion MNT. Another case, the fund itself was given or got as a guarantee from a company which is supposed to pay their insurance fund fee, but instead they have given it in we call it in barter or apartments, and those apartments were given to the staff of that fund, etc. And then the money is to be paid by everybody, by taxpayers' money. So really it's a matter of governance issue of the Mongolian government, quality of the governance, and that's one of the reasons Mongolia has very one of the latest places in the world corruption indexes. And that the reason why Mongolia is getting back in corruption index is, according to the world index, corruption perception index report, Mongolia is lagging the law enforcement.
Law enforcement.
That's clear. It shows this Irtin case and other cases show that really Mongolia is not doing law enforcement. So what can we do? In the democracy, people not only should vote politicians, but should participate in checking what they do and resisting if they do wrong thing, insisting on changing them. So this kind of participatory part of democracy in Mongolia we are missing.
Thank you, Mr. Jargal Defacto, and thank you all for watching. We will see you at the same time next week, and have a great night.
Thank you very much.